Kia ora tātou no ingarangi o ko tupuna, I tuku aki o I raro I te maro o te miro, ki te taha o te awa o Piakawiri, kei kirikiri rawa o e noho ana, he paumatai haropi wai Māori aho, ki te konihira a Rohi o Waikato, ko Alicia Williams toku ingoa, e mihi ana ki ngā kai whakahaere, o te hui nei I tonu mai ki o ki te kōrero mō tēnei kaupapa whakahirahira. Thank you very much for welcoming me here today, and I really thank Tiwai Māori for inviting me to speak on a topic that I'm really passionate about, which is pathways to the sea, ngā rerenga ki te moana, which is looking at improving downstream fish passage, particularly for tuna at pump stations. So what are flood pumps? So they're part of flood control schemes, and their purpose is to create a disconnection in water to protect human life and property from flooding, but also to support agricultural land use. And these are legislative functions of regional councils, so central government way back when put in these schemes and then handed them over to regional councils to manage. So those are just some examples of what pump stations look like. Not very nice, not very natural. So within the Waikato region, we do have 124 managed pump stations. So these are shown there by the yellow boxes, and we also have got a really large amount of floodgates, so those are shown by those blue circles. And these pump stations are a mixture of pump only, meaning that fish have got no option but to travel through the pump in order to do their downstream migration or to exit a catchment, or pump with gravity outlets. So if they've got a gravity outlet, that is a safe entry and exit to the catchment, but they only work under certain water level conditions. So we've got a range of different pumps. Most of them are axial, so propeller type pumps. We've got 2 traditional Archimedes screws, and we're currently in the process of working through some fish-friendly pumps, which I'll talk through a bit later. These were installed around the 1960s, and at the time there was really little regard to aquatic life. And unfortunately, pump operation generally coincides with downstream migration of tuna heke. So heavy rain, pumps turn on, tuna go, yes, I'm going to migrate, and they coincide at the same time. So, pathways to the sea. So this is a project that we've been working on for the last 5 years, and it was formed after there was a mass eel mortality event at one of our regional council pump stations. It made its way into the media. Other regional councils around New Zealand also have the same problem, which you might have seen over the years. So we obviously got asked, what are you doing about it? So we created this project, and our objective is to improve downstream fish passage, particularly for tuna, at our flood pumps. So to do this, we have to undertake quite a lot of research to be able to inform us on how do we go from here, how do we make this better, and it's funded by ourselves as a regional council, lots of other councils in New Zealand, iwi and industry. So why are we doing this? It's obviously an inherited legacy that we've been given that we now need to resolve. And we well know that pumps can kill or injure migrating fish that pass through them, particularly tuna, just because of their long length. And given that 1/3 of our native fish species in New Zealand are migratory, so they have to go to and from the sea to complete their life cycles, these pump stations are a huge threat. Obviously, tuna are taonga. Longfin are considered at risk within New Zealand. Tuna are part of Waikato's identity, but also obviously Aotearoa's. And now there is finally some strong policy and legislative direction to provide safe fish passage infrastructure. And over time, people's expectations are finally changing to keep up with that. So how do we actually improve safe fish passage? So I'm just going to run through a series of different projects that we've been working on to try and answer this question. So firstly, we wanted to look at the different types of pump that we've got across the region and how bad they are. So what is the level of injury of tuna or other fish passing through them, or mortality? And in order to do this, we've had to construct some pretty big nets on the outlets of pumps. So they capture everything that passes through the pump so we can then assess it. And I will warn, the next slide is not very nice. So this is just some examples of tuna and other fish that have passed through these pump stations. And there's a wide range of injuries that these tuna actually exhibit. So we've got, direct cuts, skin stripping, broken spinal cords, things like that. So pretty horrific, and we know that we're starting at baseline here. We need to improve this. So we've looked at a few different options to try and figure out, obviously with 124 pump stations, if we were to go and do all those assessments across the region, that would take us quite some time. So we looked at putting sound loggers. So they're basically just fancy loggers that can sit in the water and they record sounds. And so based on that graph on the bottom right there, you can see that it's capable of detecting when an individual fish is struck by the pump. And so we found that we could apply this across a few different types of pump, but we need wider testing to see if it can go across all our different types of pump. But again, this is only a temporary solution. It's not actually fixing the problem. We wanted to look at the behaviour of tuna at pump stations that have got a gravity outlet. So they've got that safe entry and exit point. So if that's there, would they rather go out there, or are they still going to go through the pump with that current that's kind of pushing through the pump? So we pit tagged a whole lot of eels with radio transponders, which is just a fancy word for a tag, which is in the red background box there. And so we could track the tuna movement in and around the catchment. And what was actually really interesting is that we found a lot of tuna, both feeders, so ones that aren't ready to migrate, as well as migrants, were moving in and out to feed. So having these floodgates is not only important for water being able to flush through the system, but it's really important for these species to be able to go and find new habitats and new feeding grounds. They were most active when water temperature was around 14 to 15 degrees, and movements increased at night, which I'm sure you all know, but these are good findings because together we can then change our pump operations. So pumps to not run at night, and especially when the water temperatures are around those levels. We have done a lot of work around trap and transfer, and this has been a really cool project that we've done with Waikato Tainui College interns. And so we are building that relationship and capacity amongst our people. And the idea is that we would give this work and pay for them to do it for us, because they are the ones with the expertise and the knowledge on the ground. They know how it works, so it makes sense to give that work to them. So this is, we've done some work with targeting those high flow rain events, so putting heinakis in during that downstream migration period. Obviously really simple to put in, but as you know, heinakis can be quite labour intensive to clear all the time, and making sure that we have staff available and also health and safety working around active pump stations and it's raining is obviously quite a big thing that we have to overcome. But the good thing about this is that we can apply this across the region in the interim before those pump stations get upgraded. So, if it's 20 or 30 years before that pump station's due for a renewal, we can do something in the meantime and try and get all the tuna out of that catchment. We've looked at electrical barriers, so putting in a low voltage barrier in front of a pump station on ones that have got that safe gravity outlet to deter them from going through the pump and try and get them to go up the safe route. But we found quite a lot of issues with maintaining field strength of barriers because we've got a lot of sediment in these waterways. And pump stations also have trash screens, so they're metal bars that stop things like logs and whatnot going to the pump. So these two things kind of interfere with the effectiveness of the barrier, and so again, we don't really know how good it is. And we also got a drought the year that we were trying to test this, and the pump didn't work. So all these fun things that happen when you're trying to do research. So given that we've got quite a large number of pump stations, how do we know what pump station is more important than the other? What one do we upgrade first? We've got to start somewhere. So in order to do this, we had targeted huis with iwi, mana whenua and stakeholders, and we gathered a range of cultural and ecological values, and some of them are catchment size, the length of the waterway, fish diversity. So majority of these catchments have only short-fin tuna present, but some of them also have black mudfish, inanga, long-fin tuna. So if those sort of species are present as well, we want to make sure that we are making sure that we are prioritising that catchment. We're also looking at the abundance of tuna, so how many do we know to be in that catchment, if there's any records of mortality at that site, and also the size of connected lakes and wetlands within the catchment. So obviously that gives a greater area for fish to inhabit, so makes that catchment a bit more important. So each of these were scored, and then we validated these with field surveys with mana whenua, and then this resulted in a ranking of the pump stations from your high priority, so in your green, all the way down to low priority in red. And this is something that is continually living, so every time we get more information coming to light, this gets updated, pump stations can move around. And then we looked at some fish-friendly pumps. So McEwen's is a New Zealand pump manufacturer, and they have 80% of our pumps in our region. And so we went to them saying, would you be interested in working on a fish-friendly pump? And they were, so we've been working with them for the last 3 years on trying to design something completely new. It's the first of its kind in New Zealand. And the good thing about this is that basically the propeller is the part that's the issue for tuna and fish. And so we've worked on designing that to make that more fish-friendly. So you can just take that out of the old pump, put in the new propeller, and then you don't have to change the structure. You don't have to do anything wide scale there, so it's a lot lower cost, meaning that we can then upgrade a lot more pump stations. But we still need to test how fish friendly it is. So we've done some work looking at the pump that's there currently, and it's obviously we've found everything that's gone through it has been killed. And so this pump is actually due to be installed in 2 weeks, and then we'll be doing some monitoring this coming summer. So fingers crossed, it's fish friendly. And then the last pump that we've looked at is an encased Archimedes screw pump. So Fishflow is a company in the Netherlands, and they've marketed it as a 100% fish-friendly pump, but this is only on European eels, which only grow up to 800 millimetres. Our tuna grow a lot larger than this, so we need to test it in New Zealand conditions. And we did this earlier this year, and we got really good results. So 206 tuna went through the pump. Majority were short fins, and we had a few long fins. They range from 328 to 956 millimetres. And we've got no mortalities and no unsurvivable injuries. So there was 100% survival to date, which is a really incredible result. And so this is now obviously the best pump option on the market currently. And it's something we're trying to go around other regional councils and promote that they should be installing this if their pumps are needing upgrade. But as you can see, the largest tuna that went through the pump was less than a metre. We know ours get a lot larger than a metre, so we still want to test the pump this coming migration season with tuna greater than a metre in length, just to see its full range of performance. Given how it's performed so far, I've got a lot of confidence that we're still going to get great results with large tuna. So where to from here? So we need to do that additional testing of the screw pump with those really large tuna, and we need to test that other type of pump, the modified McEwen's. Both will be happening this summer, so busy times ahead. And then we're also developing a decision support tool. So when a pump is needed to be upgraded, what sort of pump or mitigation can we use? So this is where trap and transfer can come into it, and different types of pumps. And we will install these or use these tools based on that prioritisation matrix, so the values that we've found in each of those catchments, and then overall total cost. And then this is obviously written into a really big, long document, and then will be implemented over the years to come. And we need to then go up for consultation with iwi, industry and stakeholders, and work together to make this a reality. So thank you for listening.